Cash, and welcome back to Cash Talks Football, where today we're breaking down England. We're doing it a little bit differently. If you want to jump to the actions of me breaking down the actual goals and the on-play stuff, you'll check the little timestamp and you can jump to that if you want. But what I'm going to explain here is one of the first things you should be doing and looking when you're actually using a formation or a system, and you're trying to figure out what your strengths and your weaknesses are by playing certain strengths, your system against somebody else's. Okay, so first of all, what we'll do is we'll look at this defensively, and that's probably all we're going to do, because when you're looking at it attacking wise, it's never really showing your actual weaknesses, and that's the main thing you're worried about in your system: is what are the flaws in the players I have on the field with the system that I'm trying to run. And this is going to expose how bad the England current manager is, and the lack of actual football IQ and understanding what this is basic stuff. Like, this is what you should be doing if you're on a Sunday league team and you want to see how does your 4-4-2 match up against their 4-3-3, where are your weaknesses, and then you can go into the attributes of the player. So first off, you do it from a formation point, then you start looking at the player's attributes. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're just going to move these players over in their little system, which is a 4-2-3-1, or maybe maybe a 4-3-3 of how they're really playing it. But that's what we're going to do. Ship these guys over and actually see where does everybody match up. How do they all fit in? Okay, so now we've got all of these guys moved across over here. Now, you're going to see some immediate problems with the England system. It's because, well, they're kind of playing four up front with Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, who aren't strikers. So they're going to be dropping in these sort of areas, Anthony Gordon. But you're not really worried about that, because you're looking at, okay, where are their players and where are my players? Well, their players are completely free here and here. And if that player steps up, we're all sorts of exposed from players from here and here. The whole system, if you look at England, is starting to fall apart just at a glance. The next thing you're going to notice is you've got Declan Rice sitting in midfield, and you know this guy isn't going to be there. So chances are he's going to be further forward because, well, it's Cole Palmer. He scored 4 goals the other week. He's not a central midfielder. He's not going to sit there. So you also realise that this guy's going to be on his own in the middle here. And basically, this is kind of your system, how it's going to end up looking as soon as the ball is kicked. It's going to be that. And you can see the massive gaps that England are exposed on here. Maybe not so much on the one side. But then you have to start looking at the players' attributes. And this is what you want to do, is break them down. You go, right, is Saka known to coming back and defending, or is he known for going forward and scoring goals? Well, he's not going to come back and help. Phil Foden, is he known for creating and scoring goals and creative? Yeah, so he's not going to come back and help. What about Jude Bellingham? Oh, he's kind of a bit of everything, but he's not necessarily going to be the one you rely on to break up play. Anthony Gordon, he works hard, but he's not known for tucking in defensively. When you simply look, you're going to see 1, 2, 3 midfielders playing against one midfielder in the middle here, and an out-and-out striker keeping the back four honest. You're in all sorts of trouble with England. And this is simple breaking things down. I mean, this is... I remember when I first did this with David Platt when he was at Man City, on an advanced football licensing course. We're not even getting into the hard complex stuff where you'd click on move your player and you'd have Declan Rice, his starting position would be slightly facing this way because he wants to release the ball that way. This guy's going to be slightly facing outside because he wants to take the ball outside, and all of these little key positionals where he wants to be receiving the ball, because what we're going to do is we're going to have this guy, his starting position, and actually facing this way so we can play the ball out, up, back and through and try to get out that side. Or maybe he's going to be facing more inside this way, but he's going to be wider, so he can, when he receives the ball, he's actually looking to play it down the line or inside, and he's got more options. These are all sort of, micro specific things that you're going to look at. But right now we're just talking about, if you look at that England midfield setup through here, it's just a complete and utter disaster zone waiting to happen. And this is why they were so exposed so easily, because when you've got Trent, well, is he known for defending or going forward and making a pass? This guy's got the free roll of the world back here. He can do what he wants. These midfielders completely can run all over England when they're on the transition. And they did. So much so that Jordan Pickford even came out of goal and tried to play in midfield for a little bit. But let's get on to those breakdowns of those individual goals, and let's show you what I'm talking about. Now, just building up from where we left off on the tactical board, there's so many other nuances, and when you're trying to make team balance and actually have your team constructed correctly. So you're looking at, is this wide player the one that's going to cross the ball, or is he the one that's going to run down the line? Is this defender going to be the central midfielder, going to be the one that moves the ball from the midfield to the forwards, or is he going to be the one that tries to win the ball and stay further back? How am I going to have these? Or am I going to have two defenders, defensive midfielders trying to win the ball back and give it to my outside left and right backs? All these balancing techniques are the things you want to actually build a balanced, constructive team to go forward. Otherwise, things like this happen where you've got a load of players, attacking players on the ball, but no one knows what they're doing. Who's the trigger that creates the press up front? How are we trying to win the ball back with Foden and Cole Palmer and Saka? How are we actually trying to structure the team to do this? Because when you are playing a more structured team, what they'll do is realise you don't have a bloody clue, get the ball and smash it down the other end of the field and bypass 6 of your players. And that's what they do straight away here. 1, 2, 3, more than 6. All the way down to the other end of the field, because you don't really have any pressure on the ball. You don't have any structure through the midfield. You don't really have a team plan and set up in any way. So this is when Pickford ends up coming out and playing a bit of the midfield, because, well, he has to. The ball's gone in behind. And that's the problem. Is your back line now playing a high line because you've got pressure on the ball? If you don't have pressure on the ball, they've got to drop deep. If they don't drop deep, the ball is going to go in behind and you're going to concede goals on the counter-attack. And all of these things happen inside of this game. And remember, this is England, a national team, being coached by someone who doesn't know what he's doing. Because I know what this, and I would never have a team set up like this. So the fact that he does means that he doesn't know anything about what he's doing setting up his team. He's just chirping, listening to things and going, this looks like a good idea if I play all these creative players all on the same time. You can't do that because you don't actually have a football team. You've just got a bunch of players on the field and nobody knows their jobs. Now, here's the other problem. You don't need to know your job if you do that same job week in, week out. So what that means is, so if I'm playing for England and I'm doing the exact same job for England that I am for my club, I don't need to know my job because I just do the same thing. When you completely change the formation and just go, throw all these players against the wall, well, now none of these players play in this shape and formation for their clubs, so they don't know how they're supposed to be, their roles and responsibilities for this game. So no one knows what they're doing. And then it shows really, really quickly. Really quickly. Quite frankly, though, this is a nothing ball in behind, and there's a problem, because I don't think Jordan Pickford has ever been a good goalkeeper. I completely and utterly don't like the guy. I don't like the way when anything happens, he makes a great save, and the first thing he does is yells and screams at his teammates. He doesn't sort of G them up and say, come on, boys. No, he absolutely screams at them and berates them. He's one of those players that I would never have near my squad. I just don't think he's a good human being. You want to encourage your teammates, or you know what, you made a good save, you shut up and you go make the next one. That's what really good keepers do. They keep their mouth shut, save the next one. That's what they do. They don't shout and berate. By the way, they do, but not every single time. And that's why I don't have time for him. But he also tries to make himself the main playable character in everything he's trying to do. Except for actually catch crosses. But we're going to come to that in a second. So right now, Jordan Pickford's up on the 18-yard box. Makes it very, very difficult for John Stones to pass the ball to him. What Pickford needs to be doing is on a 6-yard box further back. Why? So when this guy receives the ball, he can play it back to him, and Pickford's got time to take a touch, receive it, and knock it out. He doesn't, because he panics because the ball's gone in over the top, comes running up here. Now look, John Stones wants to pass him the ball. Well, he can't pass him the ball because for some reason Jordan Pickford's come up here to play in midfield. Like, why aren't you back here waiting for your defender to defend? So he could have just passed you the ball here, and you could have come out to the other side. Happy days. But no, you create your team a problem. Now, is this because the back four doesn't know what they're doing? Is it because Jordan Pickford doesn't know what he's doing? Is it because the line is too high and the ball's been able to go in behind too easily? Is he supposed to be playing a sweeper keeper? Nobody knows, because I'll tell you what, Jordan Pickford doesn't. But don't worry, they make a bit more of a hash. Now, this is simple, but this is, again, the problem with his attitude. He thinks that he's amazing, and I'm Jordan Pickford. No, you got your foot on the ball, you're a goalkeeper, and you're outside your 18-yard box. Pass the damn ball. And the reason he doesn't is because, well, he's not that smart. So all of a sudden, now he starts to panic. But do you see that double step tap there? Someone shouted man on. That's what that was. And because he hasn't played onto the field and actually have someone shout man on, he panics under the pressure and immediately releases the ball. If anyone, I'll tell you right now, me as a player, If you shout man on, I will lose the ball. I always expect a player to be on me. I always expect, because I'm playing football, there's always a player on. But goalkeepers don't. All of a sudden he's panicked and gives the ball away and they almost score. Gives the ball away and all of a sudden he has a shot on goal. It's going in, 9 minutes into the game, and a worldie save to save his embarrassments. But that is catastrophic errors of communication, team structure, and no one knows what they're doing. If that's happening because you're pushing for the goal in the 90th minute and you're trying to win the European Cup final, great. If that's happening in the Mickey Mouse League game of a thing that doesn't really matter, you've got so many structural issues with your team, because the first 15, 20 minutes you need to be sound, and that is not sound. And remember the level of players we're talking here. These are Premier League champions. So some of these guys have been Champions League finals, won Champions League finals. And there's not a Mickey Mouse team out here. It's not like that they're 48th in the world like Greece is. They're like number 2 or 4 in the world, England are. That is pathetic. Let's get on to the next massive mistake. So from that catastrophic mistake, don't worry, he's going to do it again. Now, yeah, he's clearly offside. It's a little lack of discipline there from Greece of actually getting out. It's well done by England, but this is even more worrying for England. Look at the players that's left back in there. Jude Bellingham's left in there, and I think it's Saka. Where the defenders have just completely run out. Look, there's 3 defenders absolutely nowhere near here, and these players have stepped back in. So what does that tell you? That means you really want the midfielders where the defenders are and the defenders where the midfielders are. So that means there's something wrong with their corners and set plays, because you really want your defenders to be the last line of defence, not your midfielders, or your midfielders are getting too lazy and not getting out in time and quick enough and being in front of those defenders. Whatever the answer is that, from that picture of just where these shirts are, it's completely wrong, and it shows you there's dysfunction all the way through this England team. Now, here's the other problem. When Jordan Pickford comes out here to try to win this, watch how bad this is. His absolute swing and a miss. Comes out, swing and a miss, and the ball goes in the goal. See, the offside is just covers up all of the problems. The defenders were too far forward, the midfielders were too far back. All of that goes out the window. And Jordan Pickford not being able to actually challenge when he comes up for the ball because the goal's offside. Those problems still exist. You still have to fix those. Just because the goal's offside, if you're a coach and you're on that sideline and you're seeing that, you're going, right, we're under the cosh here. We need to get our foot on the ball and really calm it down and try and get in some structure to this team shape and the discipline of what's going on, because right now this is a complete disaster. Let's get on to the next point. Again, if you go back to that tactical board that I was showing you, you can see exactly what I was talking about. Trent has gone too far forward. Why? Because he naturally does anyway. That's exactly what he's going to do. 2v2. Actually, it's 3v2, because all of these 3 players here are behind the ball. So they're not actually in the point of contact. So it's really these players going forward. They end up getting a shot on goal, but you can see how easy it is to go because they have no intentions of trying to go through the middle here. They're just exposing the outside spaces because there's so much of it. And all they've got to do is just basically walk through England. They get down, not much, but I just wanted to show you that. Oh, they do. They get a really good shot off, by the way. I think Pickford saves it from a deflection. But yeah, let's go on to the next point. Actually, I want to carry on from that point a little bit and just prove my point of what I was talking about with Saka. And he's doesn't know what he's doing out there defensively. Attacking-wise, fantastic. But you can see old Trent's got back and he's marked his guy 1v1. Saka's run all the way back with his runner. Brilliant. But then this is the difference between Saka and an actual someone who's... If he does this, it doesn't make him good going forward. If Saka knows this, he's not the player he is going forward. So who should really be covering here would be Declan Rice, coming over to cover this space, because that's his job as a midfielder, okay? You cover your left and your right backs. But watch what happens when this little overlap comes in. Boom. Saka's now completely taken. Trent's kind of all confused. This guy doesn't come over and cover, which he really should do. And the whole thing is a disaster on the transition because the actual structure of the team isn't set properly in the first place. And exposing Trent on that side, which is okay if you've got 2 midfielders and you can afford to have Rice go over there and cover early. Because if it's in this situation, just have a look. He's gone over there early and there is no midfielder anywhere in that space for England. Nowhere. And this guy's the guy that ends up taking the shot and takes the deflection. But it comes again because there's no other midfielder here because they're all down the field. And the ones that do come back on the wing, Saka, they're not defensive minded. And you can't blame Saka for not being a defensive right back when he's up there. Again, it's just all a mess. Okay, so here we are going to start for the a goal. I don't know if it's a goal because they scored so many that were offside and onside. But I'm going to cover them all anyway. Right here, he's running through. Trent reads the danger. He understands he's got to go out here at some point, but there's a player here, and he also realises this guy here and this guy here cannot tackle. Why? Because they're not defensive midfielders, they're not centre midfielders, they're wingers, they're wide creative players. So when there's a chance to tackle in the open field and open play, it's not their bag. That is not what they're going to do in this game of football. So this guy here is just going to walk down the middle of the field. Watch. Walk down. 2 players, 1-2, don't even try to tackle him. Look at Trent. Trent's going on. There's a player out there. I've got to get out there, because the difference is that Greaves are a balanced team. They've got a player that plays wide out wide. They've got a player that plays in the middle. They don't have 5 players that play kind of in the middle-ish, maybe out wide, all rammed onto a football team just because someone can write their name on a team sheet. Watch this guy. Now, there's a massive problem. First off as well, this body shape here is awful from John Stones. He's facing this way, and he should really be about there. And that is massively different, by the way. And he can actually be tucked in probably a little bit tighter. There's too big of a gap between these 2 guys as well. This Declan Rice, unfortunately, has been hung out to dry. He needs to be coming over and covering. But again, he sees 2 white England shirts, so he thinks someone's going to tackle, but no one does. As we move this forward, though, straight into the box. And because his body shape, Stones, isn't tight enough, enables this guy inside the box to take a touch and turn really slowly. But again, you've got Cole Palmer. He's not going to tackle him because he doesn't do that. He kicks the ball in the goal. He doesn't tackle people inside his own 18-yard box and win the ball. That'd be a Declan Rice. That'd be a Kobe Mainoo who's injured. Isn't this kiddie? Now Trent's in a full-on panic mode because he's like, well, someone's got to pressure and try to win this ball. It's in the 18-yard box, but I've got to leave my player wide out here. It's all shocking. Guy just takes a little bit of a touch, plays around a little bit. You can see, look, Palmer's half effort because, well, he doesn't tackle, win the football. That's not his main role in the game of football. And then he just whacks it into the corner. It's so simple and easy. There's no tackles. There's no pressure on the ball. The guy's allowed to turn inside the box. It is terrible from start to finish. Let's get on to the next point. You remember when I was showing you on the tactical board, if you've got those players up front and then they've got no midfield and you're exposed down in the flanks, all they've got to do is just hit the ball into that area and you're in trouble. And that's exactly what happens here, going past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players again. As the ball travels, oh, there's 6. That's 6 players out of, 10 on the field, obviously. Straight into the space where Trent's gone up too high again. Well, because that's what he does. That's the player he is. You know that's going to happen. So yet again, they're exposed in behind. And by the way, Trent can do that in other teams when he plays for Liverpool because there's more pressure on the ball, because they actually work as a unit up front. They know what they're doing. When you've just got 5 random players playing up front together, well, who's pressuring and winning the ball back? How are we setting about this? Because if they were, they wouldn't have time to play this 65-yard long ball into space over here. I think the guy's actually offside when he brings it down. But the point is, the gap and the problem is still there, because if he's done it once, well, he's done it twice already this game, the next time it might be offside this time, but he'll make sure he's not on one of the other ones, and now you're really in trouble. Actually, he wasn't the guy that was offside. It was this little wee kiddie here. They go down and put the ball into the net. If he holds his run here, England are in even more trouble so early on in the game. Well, not early on in the second half. But again, it's the system that's letting them down. It's having the wrong players, X's and O's and squares and triangles all in the wrong spots and not working together for a goal and a system that benefits all of them. I do want to point out, because Ollie Watkins comes on, I think it's almost with his first touch as a striker, he's pushing their line back, able to make a decent run in, and look, a creative player like Cole Palmer can give him the ball, because that's what Cole Palmer's good at. This is what Ollie Watkins is good at. And imagine if we play to what our strengths are in a game of football, we'll score goals and we'll do things. Yeah, straight away he's in. He probably should have finished. Doesn't. I think goes a little bit high and wide. Not important, but the important part is when you have people in the right positions in the right place, good things happen. All of a sudden, 6s and 7s again. Look, Trent's in the midfield for some reason because they're trying to play an inverted fullback, which doesn't necessarily, well, it doesn't really work, hardly ever. You can only do it in certain scenarios. Remember, Cash's rule, in 5 seconds when someone puts their arm up telling somebody what to do, the ball's going to go into the back of the net. It does, but it's offside again, which is, quite frankly, just to save England from complete and utter humiliation. But again, you can see that exposure on that right-hand side, which we could see straight away from the tactical board. As soon as you do your tactical matchups, you knew this was going to happen straight away. So if you know you're exposed on the flanks, you might make sure you play with 2 midfielders in the middle here, but you don't have a Declan Rice anywhere near here, and the ball ends up in the back of the net. Thank God for it being offside. Oh, look, Ollie Watkins making a run and receive the ball again. It's the same old, putting players in positions to actually play the position that they do for their club helps you create goals and opportunities for your team. You can't just stick any old player because he's an attacker up front or this guy in midfield, because it doesn't work, which you can see right now. Now this goal here ends up being it's a good strike from Bellingham, but it's kind of really sloppy how this ball can just travel through the whole of their team and no one does anything about it. Bit of a sort of breakdown here. There's the sort of cutback. Puts it into a right area, goes all the way across, right to the top though, and Jude Bellingham's there to smash it into the net box, get himself a goal. Jude Bellingham is one of those players that has a terrible game but scores a goal and everyone thinks he does well. Or has a really good game and then doesn't actually score, so people think he does bad. It's very weird how people are going to see that over the next couple of years. But the more games I've seen with him in, that's kind of how he seems to be. Quiet and scores 3 goals, or really, really good, dictates the game, but doesn't get anything on the score sheet. Let's get on to the next goal. Right here on this last goal is absolutely shocking. I think I've said that too many times. Look at John Stones. He's in position trying to play a game of football, looking where... it might not be John Stones actually at this point. Everyone else is here running around chasing the ball. There's one defender between the ball and the goal, and that's John Stones, I think. I don't think it's anybody else. There is no right back. There is no left back. There is no central midfielders. There's the right back. He's up here. Everyone is just completely and utterly all over the shop. And this is what happens when you have no structure and no leadership on a team. Everyone just does what they want and nothing seems to work out. So the players are like, I'm just going to do what I want. Let's just see how it happens. For some reason, just like when they dribbled through and scored the first goal, they start dribbling through the box here to score the second goal. And when they try to clear it, of course, well, who are they going to clear it to? Where are they putting the ball to? There's no right back to play our trouble here. The left back, I think, is having a picnic over here as well. Now everyone's around the ball, but no one's winning the ball. There's a difference. When you've got too many people around the football and no one knows who's supposed to win it, no one wins it. I always make this sort of thing when I'm coaching and I break it down and I have 2 idiots doing the same thing, challenging for the same ball. So, well, how many footballs are there? 1. Well, why does it need 2 of you to win the ball? Or you let him challenge for it, and if he misses it, you back him up and try to win it a second time. If you both challenge for it and he beats you, he's beaten both of you players. So why are you both going in for to win the one ball? Instead, you let the one go, you cover for him, and then if he makes a mistake, you'll go and win the ball back. Nah, we play for England. We don't do that. We just run around in a big cluster playing tag and seeing who can get the ball. So when it breaks here, it's just a little bit. Look, he runs into his own player. Now have a bit of strength, mate. If he's a little bit stronger there, he probably stays on his feet and he probably clears the ball to the right back. You know, the guy who's not there. Yeah, I don't know where the right back is, but he's clearly not on the. Don't know any idea where he's gone. Drops, touch, smashes it into the goal. Absolute calamity. Calamity of coaching, calamity of positional play, calamity of understanding, having too many players. It's like you've got, let's just say if Triangle is the attacking midfielder player, and that's Foden, and I'd say that's Saka, and I'd say that's Cole Palmer, I'd say that's Anthony Gordon, and I'd say that's Jude Bellingham. They're all attacking midfielders. Good on the ball, not necessarily great at winning you the ball back. You don't put 5 of them in your team without a striker and without any sort of other balance in midfield. It's insane. If you've got those 5 players on your team and not a decent striker on your team, by the way, any striker, it doesn't matter. Olivier Giroud still gets used for France because he's still, well, I'm not sure he does actually at the moment, but it was even at the twilight of his career because he fits the mould of the type of player or striker that they need in that role. The England coaches don't sort of understand that. They just go, yeah, he's good. I've seen him on the back page of the papers. Overall, awful. I'd give this a complete out of 10, -7. Other than that, stay tuned. Subscribe to Cash Talks Football. I'll see you next time.